What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. Okay, today we're going to be going over something about the Lee ACP. Now, this is a great little press for processing brass. It's great for sizing bullets. It's pretty versatile. All in all, it's a great little machine. However, if you got the stock one, then you don't have this 4-tube or this collet funnel. So it's not the most convenient thing when it comes to filling it up. I'm going to be doing a video on putting a case feeder on it, as well as today's topic, which is changing calibers. So when you change calibers, if you're familiar with it, you're always having to adjust the nut up and down on the bolt to get the right height for each individual case. Super inconvenient. Anyways, I was browsing around on Thingiverse and I came across a design from a guy that basically eliminates that. So if you have a 3D printer, this is a super convenient part, and from what I understand, these may actually be available commercially. So here's the 4-tube holder here and the base for it. You can pop the nut in, and this is going to take place of this 4-tube, or if you have the original one, the single tube. Now the idea behind this is each one of these adapters are for a different case. So this here is a 6.5 Creedmoor. This one's for 9mm. Here's one for 380. So you can kind of see how they are. They're all different sizes, right? Different sizes. And that's going to correspond to the size of the case that you're feeding into it. Anyways, I figured I'd slap this together real quick in a short video, and we'd see how it works out together. So that's what it should look like when it's assembled. And now, from my understanding, the Hornady Decapping Pins, if you don't have Hornady dies or decapping pins laying around, sure, you could use something else, but you just drop the decapping pins in there and that's what holds this on there. Now, you're basically going to mount this, set it, forget it. Every time you need to change, all you're going to do, pop out whatever you have holding that in there, grab a different one of those, you're going to pop it back in there, and you're good to go. So, I'm going to go ahead and get started. There's going to be a few things that we need in order to put this together. Now, there's going to be links in the description. I do have the affiliate program with Amazon. If you want to help support this channel, then by checking out using my links, it does help me out. There's a couple things that you need, like these little ball spring plungers. Basically all it is a grub screw, right? Now, if you have a lathe and you're set up, you could do what I did, and you could actually go ahead and make your own. So I did that on multiple other machines that I have laying around here. Just put the grub screw inside the lathe, milled out the hole of it in the center, then put a spring in it and a ball bearing, and then peened it so that it would be retained in there. However, if you don't have a lathe, or if you don't want to waste as much time as some people making a simple little thing, you could actually get these on Amazon. They're really cheap. So I did end up ordering a real set because the ones that I peen, as great as they are and whatnot, they're just not quite as good as the commercially available ones. I'm sure if I did a better job, they'd work better. Anyways, long story short, I want to see how this works. If all the cases work, then great. If all these adapters work, I did read some reviews where it said some of them had issues. Not a big deal. If there's some issues, I know what we're going to do. We're going to go on, we're going to open up Fusion, we're going to chop it in Fusion, modify it, make our own, and of course we will give credit and post it as a remix to the original design. So if it does work, it's going to be amazing. I'm going to switch this camera around so you can get a view of what I'm doing up on the table, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so one of the first things we're going to need is this long bolt that comes on either the 4-tube or the single tube. I'm not using my single tube on any of the machines, so I figured this would be the perfect one to take this part off. We're just going to go ahead and unthread these all the way, and this is going to become the bolt for our new adapter. So let's go ahead and take this off. Now mine is 7/16 is the size of these nuts. I'm not sure if yours will be the same or different. Should be the same. Anyways, let's go ahead and thread them off and move on to the next step. All right, now you should have one long bolt like this and 3 of these. And if you really needed to, you could actually go to the hardware store and you could pick up a bolt, so 3.5 inch bolt, and you just want to make sure that you get the same diameter. Thread pitch isn't really going to matter, so it's a quarter inch bolt. Okay, now here's this part. You're just going to drop this down in there just like that and press it in. Okay, good to go. Now got to thread on this nut all the way up. For the last 2 nuts, one of them we're going to thread on and just leave somewhere in the middle. The other one we're just going to leave setting on the bottom because we're going to have to remove them again anyways. So let me get these set up and we'll go to the next step. Okay, now that we've got that done, this we're going to have to adjust it on the press, and this one is the bottom one that locks it on the press. So leaving it set like this is going to be fine for now. Next thing that we need to do is we need to get the parts to attach this to this. Okay, so as well as we're going to need the ball spring plungers. Yes, this printer that printed this settings do suck, so especially when it comes to PETG, it's just not the best. Anyways, it's not going to matter, and I'm not going to take a heat gun and melt those strings, so that's what we're going to deal with. For the next part, we're going to need some hardware. So these are great if you pick them up on Amazon. It will save you a lot of money over going to a big box store and picking them up, and they last forever with a bunch of different projects. Anyways, we're going to need an M3 by 20, and we're also going to need an M3 Nylock. So that's going to secure the top to the bottom. And this is going to be where we're going to use the ball spring plungers. So you want M4 by 13 ball spring plungers with the grub hex head, okay? And we're going to go ahead and put those together. Oh, and almost forgot, you're going to need a washer. So the washer is going to go between the top and the bottom, between this and this, okay? So let me get set up and we'll put this together. Okay, for the next step, we're going to need an M3 bolt, like one of these, either one. We're going to need an M3 Nylock, and we're going to need a washer. We're going to go ahead and drop the washer on here, and we're going to drop the bolt through the top here in that hole. Okay, give me 1 second, and then of course we're going to secure it with the Nylock. So let me get this all set up and I'll be right back. All right, there it is. So on the bottom, I went ahead and put an extra washer between the Nylock nut and my 3D printed part, just because I felt like it was necessary. Now it spins pretty freely. We're going to go ahead and drive those ball spring plungers into each one of these 4 holes, and we'll be right back. So again, those are M3 by 13, and they have the small hex head. So let me drive those in. Now when you're driving those in, all you want is the balls in the tips of these to just barely contact. You just want that little tiny ball bearing there to contact the plastic. So you don't want to drive the thread into the 3D printed part. You want the thread to go through the first part, and the ball should just give you that positive click. Okay, be right back. Okay, so a little trick that I used was to put the ball, the hole that I'm putting the first one into, so I could see it. And just like that, I've got real positive engagement. So now I'll go ahead and do the other 4, or the other 3 I mean, and we'll be right back. Okay, there you have it. We've got all 4 of the ball spring plungers in. Now we can take whatever case funnel we want, snap it into place, and there we go. And it has very positive engagement. And that's about it. So next thing to do is going to be put it on the press. and obviously we're going to want to put pins in there. Now, just out of curiosity, see if I could save my decapping pins. Yeah, very nice. So looks like the M2 may actually be a perfect fit too. So of course I will 3D print something that will allow me to get these in and out a little bit easier, but that may actually work great. Okay, so we're gonna get this thing put over onto the press, and we're gonna start testing these funnels out. So here I've got the 40 Smith & Wesson, and I think the first one that I'm gonna test is actually gonna be the 380 ACP. So just because I want to prep some 380. So let's go ahead and get that in there. And I'm gonna get 2 of these a little bit longer instead of the decapping pins, and just drop those into there. There we go. Very nice. Okay. Yes, that's awesome. Wow, that is an awesome design. Okay, so let's move over to the press and take the old one off, get ready to put this one on. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove my 4-tube system, and then we're going to need to undo these 2 bolts here. So for that, slide one of these up under here, grab the other one, and there we go. Okay, just like that. Just go ahead and unthread this all the way down, and we're going to put these aside and save them for something else. Alright, there you have it. There is the old pieces of the 4-tube, because now we've got the new 4-tube, which is going to help us a lot. Alright. Gonna have to take this one off, like I said earlier. And okay, the next thing we may need to do is we may need to change out these slide plates, because we want a slide plate that just barely, the brass just barely protrudes above it. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this one off, and we're going to grab a thinner one. Okay, so I got the thinnest slide plate that they make, and that there. Do apologize, my cat is having a field day with the tripod. Okay, so we've got that set up there. Now the next step is going to be to get that mounted so it drops cases right where we want it to. And wouldn't you know it, that's just about perfect. We can come just slightly down, right about there, and I'm going to lock that in. Yeah, right there. Okay, so same way that we took it off, we're going to put it back on. Go ahead and run this nut here all the way up this thread till we get to the top, and then we're going to use the 2 7/16 wrenches to lock it into place. Okay. Yeah, I think that looks good. Okay, so because I don't want the top one to move, I'm going to grab a hold of the top one, and hopefully you guys are able to see this. And you don't have to go crazy when it comes to tightening it. Just kind of snug it up. Next thing we're gonna do is grab one of our old tubes from the quad funnel, and we're gonna stick that tube in there. Now that we've got it mounted on the press, let's go ahead and fill up this drop tube. Okay, and I went ahead and pulled the die out from here just so we can give it a kind of a first run. Alright, how's about that? So, let's go ahead and switch the camera and we'll talk about it. Buddy, that's all there is to it. Very simple assembly, very awesome result. I'm very happy to be able to just pull 2 pins and switch calibers instead of having to adjust the nut and bolt on the original system. So I'll be adding a case feeder to this press relatively soon, and when I do, I will be sure to kind of show assembly as well as some of the other, you know, informative parts, such as what goes on inside of the electronics control box. So if it's something you're interested in, definitely you're going to want to go ahead and subscribe and turn on the bell notification. By having the bell notification on, you're going to get notified when I drop the videos, and yeah, it's going to be some great information, show you how I hooked it up and what, you know, where you can get some of the parts. Don't forget the links in the description below. We do receive a small commission from it. So if you want to help support the channel, please do me the favor, use my links, and I'll see you guys next time.